What unsolved mystery has absolutely no plausible explanation? Came home from work with a 12-pack of drinks. I was walking up to my door when I dropped said 12-pack. A bunch of cans roll out of one end, so I stopped to pick them up and put them back in the box. But there are 13. No matter what, one of the cans won't fit, and they were all clean. No chance of a soda just being left outside. I count 13 cans when I get inside. No idea how that happened. In another universe you drop your 12-pack and can only find 11. Here's what happened. 1. There was already one can on the counter. 2. Morglarkill hurried to put the cans back in the box and didn't notice packing misalignment causing the box to appear full when it wasn't. 3. Unpacking all 12 new cans mixed with the one on the counter sums to 13 cans. We need more detail on the I count 13 cans when I get inside. Did he unpack directly into the fridge and then count? Onto the counter like you said? Are we sure OP counted the cans only after getting home? Maybe they counted them while putting them in the box and then once again when they got home. About 2 years ago my sister was home alone while my mum was at work and I was at school. I finished early that day and was home at around 1 PM. I was talking to my sister and she casually mentioned my mum came home for a while. Right away I thought that was odd because my mum works a few towns over and even if she came home on her lunch break she'd have to leave to go back by the time she got here, but I thought maybe she had an appointment or something, so I asked my sister if she said anything. Here is what my sister says happened. She was upstairs in her room when she heard the front door unlock, so she walked over to the stairs to see who it was. The stairs were facing the front door so you could see it from the top of the stairs, and saw my mum taking her coat off and hanging it up. She looked over at my sister without saying anything, after which my sister was just like, oh okay, it's just mum, and went back to her room. She also didn't hear her leave. When she told me this I was pretty spooked because my mum wouldn't have not said a word. She'd say hi at the very least. I proceeded to call my mum to ask her if she'd been home recently just to make sure, and just like I thought, she hadn't been home since she left that morning. We still don't know who or what my sister saw, but I was afraid of being home alone for the next 2 weeks lol. Maybe a lookalike intruder who decided to GTFO after such a power move from your sister, just checking her and going back to business LMRO business. Is that like fussiness? This whole doppelganger thing freaks me out properly. I read so many of them and no one ever gets hurt or anything, but something about it just rubs me the wrong way. And the doppelgangers never speak. Did you guys notice that? When I still lived at home and came back from a night out, my mother would often be up reading, and if I wasn't too tired I'd sit with her a bit and chat before going to bed. This was regular occurrence for years. A couple years after I moved out I get a text from my mom one Sunday morning asking where I'd gone. Was a little surprised as I was just in my apartment. She tells me that last night I came home late and we chatted for a bit and she was surprised that I had left the house so early in the morning. Now occasionally, I would still stop by my parents' place to crash for the night depending on where I was in the city, but I'd always let them know first. Figured my mom has just dreamt this. So I call her and explain that I wasn't there and ask what we talked about. She summarizes the conversation and gives me details about things she shouldn't have known about my night out egg. What was going on in the lives of the friends I had seen that night. Never figured it out, but now my mom teases and says she knows what I'm up to all the time. Carbon monoxide poisoning? I understood that reference. I did not. Personal mystery. 20 plus years ago I had a very brief job selling gas services door to door. Side note, I'm not good at selling things, especially those I don't truly believe in. Anyway, as dusk just started to arrive, near 5 PM, I knocked on a door and an old woman answers. I gave her my standard "we can save you money by switching to gas. We look over your latest bills and our offerings to compare." She tells me, "I'm sorry, honey, I don't live here. This is my son's house. Let me get him for you," and I politely accept. After maybe 5 to 7 of waiting, I think maybe they'd forgotten me or were trying to blow me off, so I have one last knock and this time a younger man, mid-40s I'd guess, answers and asks if he can help me. I give him the same sales speech and he stops me midway and says now is not a good time. We just buried my mother today. I'm apologized and quickly backed away. I tell myself it was a nice way to mess with the door-to-door guy, but I really don't know to this day. I mean, I've got 4 moms. Dad was never great with marriages. Out of topic, but were you more close with your biological mother or father? Oof, you trying to get me killed? I'll say this, I love my mom and my first stepmom a lot. The other 2 marriages were after I was an adult, and I honestly don't know them very well since my dad no longer lives close by. Were you surgically created? I once did a magic trick in front of 20 people as a teenager. We had orchestrated it, so there were 2 of us. So the trick is, I ask someone from the audience to pick a card, hold it above their head in front of the crowd, but card back facing me, so the entire crowd sees the card. Now someone on the other side of the window behind the crowd also sees the card, and with the crowd facing forwards, they don't see him. So he plasters the card from another deck on the window, and when he's done doing that, I throw the entire deck at the window, and lo and behold, their card is now stuck on the other side of the window. What happened surprised not only the crowd, but myself and my co-magician as well. I throw the deck and the exact card is not only plastered on the other side of the window, it is also stuck on our side of the window, right next to it. My mind was blown and I still can't explain it to this day. We played it as a part of the trick, so nobody in that crowd knows what sort of black wizardry went down that day. I think a dead magician was f***ing with you. I love the idea of Harry Houdini going around and messing with young magicians to make their tricks even more impressive. I have a personal mystery. When I got home from uni and before I found a job, I had a period of time where I stayed at my family home. Due to being home alone often during this time, I tended to be the one who collected the mail and did odd home jobs. One day we had a particularly large amount of letters and parcel for my brother's birthday, and because 2 trips are for weak people, I struggled and carried them all into the house. I managed to throw the letters onto the table, but about half slipped onto the floor. This is important. Thinking screw it, I carry the box upstairs to the office and come back down to pick the letters up. Yet, when I come back into the kitchen, there are no letters anywhere. Confused, I check every downstairs table and eventually the mailbox. Nothing at all. Finally I go back into the kitchen and notice one of the kitchen chairs is slightly pulled out from under the table. I pull it all the way out and under the cushion on the seat is a neat pile of the letters. There was no one but me at home for a few hours before this. Utterly confused till this day. A ghost stole them to prank you but felt bad after realizing they were for your brother's birthday. To make up for it, ghost friend destacked them neatly, but it had to be in a weird place so their prank wasn't a total bust. Literally the only logical explanation. r/unexpected community. Case closed. They came away. Toys. I was late for an appointment one day and was speeding up a hill with a big curve to the right, the direction I was going. Almost as soon as I got around the curve, I saw there was an accident in front of me, blocking both lanes on my side. Since there were only 1 or 2 other cars stuck behind it, it must have just happened, because there were no emergency vehicles there yet. To the right of me was a sidewalk where people were standing gawking, and to my left was oncoming traffic in the other 2 lanes, so I couldn't go around it, and I was going too fast to be able to stop in time. I knew if I relaxed I was less likely to be as severely injured, so I quickly shut my eyes and relaxed as much as I could. And absolutely nothing happened. When I opened my eyes, I could see the crash behind me in my rearview mirror, and I was continuing along an empty, on my side, road. This happened about 35 years ago, and to this day I have no idea how that happened. That's seriously freaky. I've heard other similar stories like this and it boggles my mind. Someone needs to do a post about this. Late to the party, but it could have been the observer effect. There was a recent study where 2 people observed a quantum particle and got 2 different results, but both were still in the available options. Maybe by not observing the crash, it didn't happen to you. In college, eating breakfast with 3 friends. All have cereal with milk. One friend, K, also has a glass of milk. He's seated directly across from me. I watch him pick up the glass and drop it onto his lap. It disappears from my view as it strikes the table. Absolutely no reaction from him. We ask K if he's okay. K has no recollection of the glass of milk. We searched the immediate area and no milk anywhere, no glass anywhere. 3 of us remember the glass of milk. K has no recollection to this day. Friend dropped full glass of milk into the void in front of 3 people and had no memory of it. I made chicken soft tacos for dinner last week. Halfway through cooking realized we didn't have tortillas. I sent husband to the store to buy soft flour tortillas. Dinner is ready, so I tell my 2 teenage boys to dish up. Shredder chicken is on the stove. All the fixings are on the island, including the unopened bag of tortillas. Husband and I wait in the other room for the boys to finish dishing up before we get ours because crowded. Boys come sit in the living room with 2 burritos each. Husband and I go into kitchen and grab plates. I reach to grab a tortilla. The bag is sealed. Unopened. I look around totally confused. Examine the bag. No tears anywhere. I look in the trash for an empty bag. Nope. Ask the boys where they got their tortillas. They both said from the bag on the counter. I asked, the new bag? My oldest says yes. He opened it. WTF? Thanks for the 4 free tortillas. Glitch. This is going to sound like it, but I bought a bag of tortillas a few days ago, and when I went to grab them the bag was open and half 4 were missing. No one else in this house could have used them between me buying them and using them for dinner, so that's pretty weird. That's weird. I guess we switched bags. This is a personal one that happened not so long ago. The first time my girlfriend and I went to a motel, she took her necklace off and put it in a nightstand near the bed. A few hours after we left, she realized she wasn't wearing it and must have forgotten it back at the motel. I called and no one from the cleaning crew had seen it. Well, tough luck. We just assumed someone found it. It had a silver chain and a somewhat expensive pendant, and kept it for themselves. The following day I went back to my hometown. I live 2h away, and apparently that was the end of it. Thing is, 2 or 3 weeks later I met with her again. We were just starting to see each other at the time, and since I'm from another city, I stay at my grandmother's house on weekends. Just as I was leaving the house for our date, I overhear my mother, aunt and grandma talking. They were questioning themselves about something they found and couldn't figure out who owned it. That something? The necklace. Apparently my grandma found it literally in the middle of her bed, strewn over the sheets. I took it and gave it back to my GF, who had bought another one after she lost it, so now she has 2 identical necklaces. I've never been so dumbfounded in my life. There's no way the necklace was accidentally in my jeans pocket or something, because it only reappeared 2 weeks after it was lost. I would have found them in my pockets in the meantime. My grandmother had never met my GF before, and there's literally no way someone could have found it at the motel and sent it back to us, because I hadn't given an address or a phone number except for my cell phone to the motel staff. And if that wasn't enough, why in the middle of her bed? The necklace almost certainly got into your stuff. Not even necessarily in a pocket. Could just have ended up tossed loose into your luggage. If you did your laundry at your grandma's, it ended up in either the washer or dryer, then got mixed up in her own laundry, or she did your laundry for you and while folding it ended up on her bed. Or if you simply use the same suitcases from the trip, it popped out at her place at some point and inadvertently got mixed into some clothes sheets.